She ignored your text again. You watched her post on Instagram while you waited, wondering what you said wrong. You bought dinner, listened to her stories, and held back everything you truly wanted to say, and she vanished. Again. You're tired of being good, only to be forgotten. You try harder, become more available, more understanding. But it's always the same. You give, she leaves. And deep down you know, it's not that you're not good enough. It's that you've been lied to about what women want. You're not alone. You're just uninformed. I'm putting together the most powerful book ever created for men, the Stoic Relationship Blueprint. It drops in just a few days and will flip your entire understanding of love, dating, and relationships. Don't be the guy left wondering why he never gets chosen. Comment, "I choose clarity," if you're ready to watch this video till the end. Number 1. Stop explaining yourself. Every time you feel the urge to explain yourself, stop. Because in that moment, you're not informing her. You're trying to convince yourself that you're worthy of staying in her life. And that need to prove comes from an internal fear that you might not be enough as you are. That fear shows up in your voice, in the way your sentences trail off, in how you over-answer questions that didn't need explaining. And in that moment, you're no longer leading the interaction. You're shrinking inside of it. Think about the last time you got into an argument or disagreement with a woman and found yourself sending her an essay text, trying to unpack your every move, every word, every motive. Did that change her mind, or did it push her further away, make her roll her eyes, confirm in her heart that you're just another man who's trying too hard? Men who women desire don't explain who they are. They embody it through calm confidence, by saying less, by allowing their boundaries, tone, and presence to speak louder than any clarification ever could. Instead of explaining why you couldn't reply fast enough, say nothing, because a man who is valuable is known for his value, not for justifying his time. Instead of rambling about why you deserve a second chance, show self-respect by walking away when you're not met with reciprocity, because her respect is never earned by verbal gymnastics. It's earned when she feels your certainty without you raising your voice, when she realizes you don't need to prove your intentions, because your direction, your values, your clarity, your daily action, all confirm it. Imagine this. A woman accuses you of not caring, and instead of diving into a rabbit hole of explanations, you calmly say, "That's not true, but I'm not here to beg for understanding." And you hold your frame, then turn your attention back to your priorities. In that moment, you gave her the most powerful gift a man can give, the demonstration of strength in stillness, not the weakness of over-explanation. The reason most men lose women isn't because they made a mistake. It's because they tried too hard to make her forgive the mistake. When in truth, women don't leave because of the mistake. They leave because of how you handled it, because you made the mistake your entire identity. And when you explain too much, you show her that your worth depends on her opinion, and that instantly flips the polarity. She becomes the evaluator, and you the performer. Instead, when a woman confronts you with emotional heat, don't fight the fire, remain the mountain, give her space to breathe, and when you do speak, let it be brief, grounded, unshaken, and final. One of the oldest Stoic truths says, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And that right there is the energy women chase, the presence that makes her look twice, makes her wonder, makes her respect you even in silence. Because you're not trying to win her approval, you're living by your truth. And if that aligns, she'll come closer, and if it doesn't, you won't crumble. So from now on, stop explaining who you are and start building a life that makes explanation unnecessary. Because when your results, focus, discipline, and self-worth speak for you, no woman can look at you the same, and the right one won't need paragraphs. She'll feel your energy. She'll read your calm, and she'll know you're not the kind of man she can play with, because your time is earned, your attention is rare, and your presence is never given where it isn't respected. Number 2, detach from outcome. Stay in control. Imagine a man standing at the edge of a cliff, arms wide open, facing the wind, not because he's trying to impress anyone, but because he's learned to love the risk, to trust the ground beneath him, and to accept that no matter what comes, win or lose, he remains whole. That's what detachment looks like. Not a lack of care, but the presence of such unshakable self-trust that no one else's actions can rob you of your peace. And that's what women crave, but rarely find. A man who desires them, but doesn't need them, who can love deeply but not lose himself in that love. And if you've ever wondered why some men can walk away from disrespect without flinching while others beg for answers and cry for closure, it's because the detached man already decided. If the connection costs his peace, it's too expensive, and he won't bankrupt his soul to keep someone who doesn't value his worth. How many times have you found yourself checking your phone every 5 minutes, hoping she replies, wondering if you said something wrong, over-analyzing every emoji, every delay, every mood swing, and in doing that, you've handed her the remote control to your emotional state. She can ghost you and you spiral. She can flirt with others and you start doubting yourself. And that right there is the cost of attachment. The moment you forget who you are because you're too busy trying to manage how she feels about you. But when you detach from outcome, you stop chasing certainty in others and start rooting it in yourself. You begin every interaction knowing, I will give my presence, but I won't beg for permanence. If she wants to leave, the door is open, not because you're trying to scare her, but because you refuse to imprison your heart for someone who needs convincing. Real men do not beg, they invite. And if the invitation is declined, they continue their journey with grace and intensity. This is not arrogance, it's clarity. And clarity is magnetic. It draws the feminine in like gravity. Because deep down, women don't want a man they can control. They want a man who is already in control of his purpose, of his reactions, of his space, and of his outcomes. She will test you. She will be warm today and cold tomorrow, sweet one week and distant the next. Not to confuse you, but to find you, to see if your center is in her hands or rooted in your mission. And when she sees that her chaos doesn't shake your calm, her interest deepens, not because you ignore her, but because you refuse to make her your compass. And that's why detachment isn't coldness. It's inner fire that no wind can put out. It's the confidence to say, I want you, but I don't need you, and mean it from a place of peace, not pride. This is the energy that commands attention without demand, that inspires loyalty without chasing, because women feel safe with a man who is safe in himself, and that safety doesn't come from controlling outcomes. It comes from releasing the need to, from knowing that no matter who stays or leaves, your direction remains, your values hold firm, and your worth never fluctuates with their moods. So next time you find yourself spiraling because of her distance, stop and ask, did I lose her, or did I lose myself first? And then do the only thing a man should do. Reclaim your center, return to your goals, move in silence, and remember that the man who gets what he wants from women doesn't cling, chase, or beg. He attracts through mastery, leads with presence, and walks away with power. And when you live like that, you don't fear rejection. You understand it's simply redirection back to your mission, and that's where your real power lives. Number 3, never negotiate your boundaries. When you draw a line and then erase it because someone questions it, that's not flexibility, it's self-betrayal. And every time you allow your standards to be bent to accommodate someone else's emotional instability or testing behavior, you chip away at your own authority until what remains is a shell of the man you promised yourself you'd become. And this is exactly why so many men wake up drained, disrespected, and confused in their relationships. Not because they didn't set boundaries, but because they didn't defend them the moment they were tested. Imagine saying, "I don't tolerate yelling," and then staying in the conversation as she screams, or saying, "I'm not into flakiness," but still texting her after she cancels on you with no explanation. What you just told her is that your standards are decorations, not rules. And when your standards are optional, your worth becomes negotiable. But women don't respect boundaries written in pencil. They respect ones carved in stone, and this respect isn't forced. It's earned by showing consistency between your words and actions, because boundaries are not meant to be explained. They're meant to be enforced quietly. And if she crosses a line and sees no consequence, she now knows she can continue testing your patience, loyalty, and value without repercussions. Ask yourself, how many times have you told yourself you were done, only to return with excuses? How many times have you lowered the bar just to keep her around, convincing yourself that love means sacrifice, when in reality, love without self-respect is just dependency wrapped in fantasy? And the truth is, every time you let something slide that you swore you wouldn't, you reinforce in her mind that your word means nothing. And nothing kills attraction faster than a man whose words hold no weight. When a woman sees you stand firm on what you say, even if it means losing her, she feels something most men never make her feel: structure, strength, certainty. And that's not about being controlling. It's about living in alignment with who you are, because a man who knows himself doesn't allow disrespect to find comfort in his space. And if your values shift with her moods, if your time becomes more available every time she pulls away, if your needs dissolve just to keep the peace, then you're not in a relationship. You're in an emotional transaction where your self-worth is the currency being drained. So how do you stop it? Start with small decisions that reflect big integrity. Don't reply to disrespectful texts. Don't entertain last-minute changes if they're not emergencies. Don't make exceptions for behavior that disrespects your principles. You don't need to argue. You don't need to prove anything. You just need to act decisively. And when you do that consistently, something incredible happens. The chaos clears, the testing stops, and the energy around you changes, because people realize you can't be pushed around. And that's when you attract the kind of respect that leads to deeper connections. And yes, some people will leave when you hold strong boundaries, but let them, not because you don't care, but because you care more about being true to yourself than being liked by someone who only shows up when you bend. And that's the foundation of real masculine leadership. Showing up as a man who doesn't shift his standards for short-term connection, who doesn't allow attraction to override his alignment, who doesn't beg for loyalty, but inspires it through consistency. And when you embody that, you stop chasing peace in people because you carry it within your principles, and you guard it like your life depends on it, because it does. Number 4, don't be her therapist. The moment you start absorbing every emotion she projects, you stop being her man and start becoming her mirror, and that's the quickest way to lose polarity in the relationship, because women don't fall for men who hold space for every dramatic spiral. They fall for men who can witness chaos without absorbing it, who understand without fixing, and who listen without becoming the emotional sponge that soaks up every complaint and carries it like a burden. If you've ever been in a relationship where your entire mental energy was consumed by her problems, where your peace was held hostage by her moods, where you felt like if she wasn't okay, then you weren't okay, then you've already been her therapist, and it probably left you emotionally exhausted, sexually disconnected, and wondering why she stopped respecting you. And here's why. When you make her emotional world more important than your own clarity, you become her emotional support system instead of the grounded masculine presence that she longs for but rarely finds. You might think you're being loving, But what you're really doing is training her to see you as an emotional crutch, not a leader. And once you step into that role, the romance fades, the polarity dies, and the respect evaporates. Because the truth is, she doesn't want you to solve every problem. She wants to know that your center can't be shaken by them. Picture this. She comes home from work, venting about her boss, her co-workers, her friends, and you jump into solution mode. Did you try talking to them? Maybe you should find a new job. Want me to help you write a message? What you thought was helpful actually signals to her that you don't trust her to handle her life, and in that moment, she doesn't feel safe. She feels like you're trying to manage her like a problem, when what she really needs is the strong calm of a man who listens, nods, and says, "That sounds frustrating. What do you think you'll do about it?" That simple redirection gives her back her power and reinforces yours, because you're not absorbing her chaos. You're witnessing it without being pulled in, and that balance is rare, it's precious, and it's powerful. Because when you're the man who refuses to be a therapist, you also refuse to become the emotional garbage can for unresolved trauma, and you step into the space of being her mirror. Someone who reflects strength, not weakness, who reminds her of her own capacity instead of rescuing her from it. And in doing that, you stop being overwhelmed by her emotions and start becoming the calm that calls her back to her own clarity. Now, this doesn't mean being cold, detached, or unfeeling. It means being deeply present without being emotionally hijacked, being empathetic without being enmeshed, and most importantly, it means valuing your own mental health, time, and energy enough to say, "I'm here for you, but I won't be your solution. You already have it inside you." And when you live like that, you not only protect your peace, you amplify her respect. Because real strength isn't just lifting weights or earning money. It's being able to hold space for another person without collapsing into their emotional gravity. And when she feels that strength, that edge, that immovable clarity in you, she leans in, not because she's needy, but because you've become the rare kind of man who doesn't solve her problems, but awakens her to her own strength. And in that space, true intimacy grows. Number 5, scarcity drives value. The harsh reality that most men never learn is that what is always available is rarely treasured, because the moment you make yourself constantly accessible, constantly eager to reply, constantly shifting your day around her presence, you don't communicate devotion. You communicate that you have nothing more important going on than her, and that message kills attraction faster than any wrong word ever could, because value is not declared. It's demonstrated through your priorities, your absence, your time allocation, and the way you treat yourself as someone of rare and meaningful focus. Think about the man who texts every morning, checks in by lunchtime, offers his weekend before she even asks. What emotion does that generate? Comfort, maybe. Safety, possibly. But desire, challenge, curiosity? Almost never, because what's easily held is easily forgotten, and women, wired by instinct to be drawn towards significance, will unconsciously test how deeply rooted your mission is by how quickly you abandon it for them. And this isn't about being cold or playing games. It's about anchoring your attention in something bigger than validation. Because when your life is full, when your days are consumed by purpose, by self-betterment, by building something that makes you come alive, she has to earn your time. And earning always creates value, always builds respect, always sharpens attraction, because now she's not receiving something free, she's stepping into something powerful, and that changes the way she looks at you, thinks about you, talks about you to her friends. Scarcity in this context means not being everywhere, not replying immediately, not rearranging your schedule for convenience, not over-investing when it's not reciprocated. It means being driven by something greater and allowing women to fit into your world, not become the center of it. Imagine the difference between a man who waits for her text all weekend, canceling plans just in case she calls, and the man who goes to his training, his meetings, reads his books, finishes his projects, and by Sunday, maybe he checks in, not because he's avoiding her, but because he's chosen himself first. And that choice builds mystique. It creates a gravitational pull where she begins to wonder what you're doing, why you're unavailable, who has your time, and that curiosity fuels interest in ways compliments never could. The goal is not to be absent to manipulate, but to be rare because your time, your energy, your presence is reserved for what aligns with your path, not what merely entertains your ego. And to live this, you must create a life that you love being in, one where you're not seeking escape through affection, but already fulfilled in your mission. So any woman joining you is adding joy, not filling a hole. This is where your power begins, and to sustain it, you must protect it from anything that threatens to steal your time without matching your frequency. And when you live like that, not only do you attract women differently, you view yourself differently, because now you move with discernment, not desperation. And that shift alone is the foundation of all lasting value. Number 6. Master yourself first. The world gives nothing to the man who has yet to govern himself, and every day you wake up in a body you haven't disciplined, a mind you haven't sharpened, a set of principles you haven't committed to. You walk through life with a handicap you placed on yourself, because there is no greater threat to your potential than the parts of you left unchecked, unquestioned, unchallenged, and untrained. When you want respect from others, but haven't respected your own sleep, your own diet, your own time management, your own emotional responses, what exactly are you expecting to be honored for? And how do you expect any woman to see you as dependable when your own day-to-day behavior is still dictated by impulse, not intention? It's easy to blame circumstances, to say you were tired, to say your childhood shaped you, to say people didn't teach you this. But eventually, all of that becomes an excuse for not sitting with yourself in the early hours, asking the hard questions, and saying no to the distractions that keep you average. Because to master yourself is not a single act. It's a constant war with comfort. And every time you skip that workout, every time you avoid the uncomfortable truth, every time you let discipline slide just because no one's watching, you confirm to your subconscious that your goals are optional, your values negotiable, and your vision unclear. And that's the version of you that people will respond to, because what's inside always leaks out, not through your words, but through your habits, your posture, your responses, your energy when faced with adversity. And this is why self-mastery must be your priority before you ever think about trying to lead a relationship. Not because women want a flawless man, but because they want to feel something stable, grounded, dependable, something they can trust even when their own emotions are spinning. And that can't come from bravado or talk. It comes from repetition, from the choices no one sees, from how you treat your body when no one's watching, how you spend your money when the world isn't tracking your expenses, how you speak about others when there's no benefit in pretending to be noble. Imagine the difference between a man who wakes up and reacts to whatever hits him, the notifications, the cravings, the moods, versus a man who has already carved out his mornings with structure, who trains without being told, who journals without being prompted, who reads, meditates, reflects, and calibrates, not because it's trendy, but because he knows if he doesn't conquer the chaos within, he'll always be a victim of the world around him. And every interaction, especially with women, will reflect that internal disorder. If your room is messy, your schedule inconsistent, your nutrition chaotic, your money out of control, your phone use compulsive, and your sleep broken, then understand that no matter how strong your jawline is, no woman of value will stay, because what they feel is not surface-level attraction. It's the lack of reliability in your nervous system, the absence of discipline in your words and actions, and they will test you, not out of cruelty, but instinctively, because they need to know that you can hold the frame of life when things go off balance. And if you can't even control your own hunger, your own scrolling, your own schedule, then the answer will always be no, and it won't be because you're not good enough. It will be because you haven't become intentional enough, and when you do, everything changes. Suddenly your days have a rhythm, your eyes have presence, your words slow down, your interactions become cleaner. You stop chasing validation, and you start emitting the kind of grounded presence that moves others to respect you without needing to be told why. And if you want to know where to start, don't start with fixing her, or them, or the world. Start with your mornings, reclaim your body, say no to your weakest habits, replace one poor choice with one clean one, track your time for a week, remove one addictive influence, learn how to breathe deeply again when under stress, create routines that strengthen your backbone, and eliminate the excuses you've been entertaining. And then stack them slowly, because mastery is not built in leaps. It's carved out in inches, and the man who builds an unbreakable core doesn't have to raise his voice, doesn't have to beg for trust, doesn't have to chase connection. He becomes the kind of man who moves through life like a lighthouse, steady, calm, rare, and never ignored, because everyone, especially women, will always sense when they are in the presence of a man who has chosen himself first. And when that happens, they lean in, not because he asked, but because they know that kind of power can't be faked. You've been ignored, misunderstood, taken for granted. You've given your best and got the bare minimum in return. You've stayed when you should have walked. You've lowered your standards to keep someone who wouldn't raise theirs. You've carried the weight of relationships that left you feeling drained, confused, unseen. In a world that constantly tells you to be more sensitive but punishes you when you open up. In a culture where being a man means being silent, compliant, and easy to manipulate. You've had to guess your way through masculinity, through love, through your own purpose. But what if that ended today? What if there was a blueprint, a real, practical, powerful guide designed specifically for you to break out of emotional slavery, to build unshakable self-worth, to attract real connection without losing yourself, to finally understand exactly how to get what you want from women 99% of the time, without pretending, without begging, without being someone you're not. That's what the Stoic relationship blueprint for men is. It's not another motivational slogan. It's the answer. It's everything you wish someone had taught you 10 years ago. It's dropping in just a few days, and if you're serious about transforming your relationships and life for good, you'll want to get your hands on it the second it's released. Comment the blueprint if you're done settling and ready to claim the life and respect you deserve. Like, share, and subscribe so we can keep building this space. Because every time you do, you help another man out there who's been lost in the same darkness finally see the light.